Hey guys, today we're going to be building a simple application using Vanilla JavaScript that will take in a zip code and then give us that location info. Alright, so for example, if I put in here 02120, you'll see that it'll give us back the city, the state, the longitude, and the latitude. And we're using the Bulma CSS framework, which is a nice change from the usual Bootstrap or Materialize that I usually use. And we can close this out if we want, and you'll see that the zip code will clear out. And we also made it so that if we put something that's not a valid zip code, you'll see that we'll get this little X over here and we'll get an invalid message. All right, now this is pure JavaScript. We're not using any frameworks or libraries. And the reason that I've been doing a lot of these types of applications is because I think we're overusing frameworks and libraries for things that they're not needed for, very small applications like this. For larger applications, they're great. You know, React, Angular, full stack applications, they're really great. But there's a lot of things that they're not needed for. JavaScript alone has really gotten a lot better to work with. I mean, we can select things from the DOM and work with the DOM very easily. Now with the Fetch API, which is what we'll be using, we don't have to use jQuery or external HTTP libraries. We also don't have to make complicated XHR, old school AJAX requests. So I think it's good to start to get into building applications with pure JavaScript. So enough of the babble, let's go ahead and get started with this application. I want to give a huge shout out to today's sponsor, MailTag. MailTag is a Chrome extension that allows you to track your emails in real time for free. It also lets you track other cool things like link clicks, email reopens, and even the device that was used to open your emails. Be sure to check out MailTag by clicking the link in the description below. Alright guys, so to get started, I just have a folder called Location Finder that is completely empty, and we're just going to create an index.html file in here, and that should be all we need for this small application. Now, to get the location info, we're using an API called zipcode.us, and it's just basically it's a very simple API. You don't need a key or anything. All you do is make a request to api.zipcode.us / and then whatever country you're using. This is going to be strictly US zip codes that we're doing, but feel free to build your own application using different countries, and then just the zip code, okay? And then it'll give us our response, which will include the info that you saw, the longitude, latitude, all that stuff, the city. You can also make requests to /country /state /city and get the zip code if you want to do that. And you guys know that if you want to take the application that I build and tweak it and create something on your own, and you can look at it kind of as like a homework assignment. If you guys want to do this, I'll always approve those links. Most links will go straight to spam in the comment section, but I'll always approve those if you guys want to display your work. All right, so just to let you know. So that's what we'll be using, this API here. So what I'm going to do over here in index.html is just put in some basic HTML tags using Emmet. All right, so let me just close that up, and we'll go ahead and add a title here. We'll call it Location Finder. All right, now as I said, we're not using any kind of JavaScript framework or anything. We are going to use a CSS framework called Bulma CSS. So we want to get the CDN, so I'm going to say Bulma CSS CDN, and let's grab it from cdnjs.com, and I'm going to grab this right here. So we'll say copy link tag, and we'll throw that in the head area. All right, I'm also going to use Font Awesome, which is an icon library. So let's search for Font Awesome CDN. And we'll go ahead and grab that. Let's say, actually, we'll just grab this right here, this link tag, and we'll put it right under the Bulma CDN link. All right, so we'll save that. Now, I'm using Live Server. As you guys know, if you watch my tutorials, I use a plugin for VS Code called Live Server that will just open up my HTML file on my local host. So if you want to install that, you can go ahead and search for it here and install it, and then you can right-click and say Open with Live Server. All right, so that's going to open up our page over here. All right, let's close this back up. Alright guys, so let's go into the body here, and we're going to wrap everything in a section. So we're going to put a section tag, and we're going to add a bunch of classes. Now I'm using Emmet, so I'm just going to use the dot syntax here and say dot hero. That's going to be the first class, which is a Bulma CSS class, kind of like a Jumbotron or a showcase area. It's also going to have a hero-body class, and then we also want a class called is-dark, which will make it dark and make the text light. And then we also want a container, which will contain everything into the middle. And then I'll hit tab using Emmet, and it'll make those all into classes. All right, so if I save this, you should get this this black bar. All right, so in here we're going to have an h1. We're going to give this h1 a class of title, and in here we're going to say US location info. We'll save that. And then underneath that, we're going to put an h2 and give that a class of subtitle, which is also a Bulma CSS class. And we're just going to say enter a zip code to get the location info. All right. And then underneath that, we're going to have our form. So let's create a form tag. We're going to give this an ID of, let's call this zip form. Okay, we don't need an action. We're not actually submitting this to a page. All right, so what I'm going to do now is go to the Bulma CSS, not CDN. I just want the documentation. And let's see, we want forms. All right, so this is, you know what? All right, so show code. So each field should be wrapped in a class of field, and then let's see, we actually want some icons, so we're going to need this class with control, has icons, all that stuff. We want it to look like this right here. And you can see that they're actually using Font Awesome as well. There's no icon library associated with Bulma, so you want to use Font Awesome. So I'm just going to copy this second field right here. And we're going to go ahead and put that right in the form. All right, and we might have to change some things up. Well, we will have to change some things up. We're not using a username. Actually, I'm not even going to use a label, so we're going to get rid of that. Okay, so no label. This div right here has a class of control, has icons left, and then has icons right. That's fine. Let's see, input is success. For the input class, let's do input and zip, and let's say is large. We want to make it bigger. All right, and then type text placeholder. For the placeholder, we'll just say enter zip code. For the value, we're not going to have a value, just get rid of that. All right, and then for this span right here, it has a class of icon, is small and is left, and then we're going to change the icon from user to map-pin. All right, and then for this span right here, we're gonna keep that as a check. So this is fine. Let's see. Now it's going to be a check if it's a valid zip code, right? So we're also going to have an X if it's not valid. So we're going to copy this, and let's put this in here. All right, and then let's see. This is going to be icon is small is right. We're also going to add a class of icon dash remove. All right, and then this is going to be, instead of FA check, it's going to be FA remove. So if we save that and we take a look, we have two icons on top of each other, which obviously isn't what we want. And this right here, we don't want that either. So let's just get rid of that paragraph. All right, so what we want to do is initially hide the remove icon. We don't want that to display. Actually, we want to remove both of them to begin with. And then after we make our request, if it's successful and the zip code is a real zip code, we'll show the check mark. If it's not, we'll show the X. So let's go up to the head here, and we'll go ahead and put in some style tags. And we're going to initially hide both of those. All right, so let's say dot icon remove, And then actually I don't think I added the other class. Where is it? So yeah, this is icon remove. So for this span right here, we want to add icon check like that. And we want both of those to be hidden. So let's say icon remove, comma, icon check. And then we want to display none. And save. Oh, forgot the dot right there. And save. And now we don't have either of them displaying. All right, so that's what we want. Now our HTML is just about done. All we need now is a place for the output. Okay, so we're going to go under the section. Okay, so we'll go under the section. Let's put in a line break, and then we'll put a class of container. And inside here, we'll have a div with the ID of output. All right, so that's basically our placeholder. That's where we're going to have our JavaScript dump all the location info. So let's save that, and now our HTML is done. All right, so now we're going to create our script tags down at the bottom here. Okay, so in here, what we want to do first is we want to add an event listener to the form. Okay, when we submit it, we want to call an event. So let's say listen for submit, and we'll say document dot, let's use query selector, okay, which is just like using jQuery really. We'll say zip form, and then we want to add an event listener. Okay, we want to listen for a submit event, and then we're going to call a function called get location info. All right, so now down here, let's go ahead and create that function, get location info. All right, and that's going to take in an event parameter, and let's just console.log, and we'll just console log 1, 2, 3. Now, since it's a submit event, it's going to, or since it's a form that submits, it's going to try to submit to a page, but we don't want that, so we want to prevent that default behavior, and we can do that by taking that e parameter and saying prevent default. All right, so let's save. Let's open up our console with F12, go to console, and just whatever, put whatever in there and enter, and we get 1, 2, 3. All right, so that event, that submit event, is being fired off, and it's calling this function. All right, so what do we want to do next? We want to get this value. So let's go ahead and get rid of that console log. And we're going to say, let's say, we'll put a comment here. We'll say get zip value from input. And we're going to create a variable called zip. And we'll set that to document.get. Actually, we'll do query selector. So query selector, and we can get it. It's a class of zip, and we want the value. Okay. Actually, did I add the class to the input? No, yeah, I did. It has a class of zip. All right, so we want to get that value, and just to test it out real quick, we'll say console log zip. All right, so let's go ahead and add in a zip code here. We'll say 02120. And you'll see that's just going to log it. Now what we want to do is make a request to this URL right here, and we want to put the zip code in here. Okay, so let's grab this, and we're going to use the fetch API. Let's put a comment here. We'll say make request, and we'll say fetch. And in here I'm going to put a set of backticks because we're going to use a template string. And let's paste this in. For some reason they didn't put HTTP, so let's make sure we do that. And then this value here is going to be our zip variable. So to put a variable inside of a template string, we just need to put a money sign and then some curly braces. Then we can put a variable in. All right, and that's just ES6 syntax. All right, now the way that fetch works is we're going to put in .then right here. Okay, make sure you don't put a semicolon here. This is attached to this because it returns a promise. we're going to take that response and we're going to map it to JSON. So we want to say response.json like that. And then we want to put another dot then in, and that's where we can get our data. All right, so in here, we're going to put data, and we're going to use an arrow function, and let's just for now console.log that data. All right, so let's go ahead and save this, and then let's go back to our app and enter, and you'll see that it gives us our data back. Okay, so it gives us the postcode back, it gives us the country abbreviation, and then a places array. So the actual city and stuff like that, that's going to be inside of an array. Okay, and it's going to be usually an array with just one value. Okay, so it's the 0 index, and that's where we can get all of our stuff. So when we go to output this down here in our JavaScript, we're going to have to loop through it. Okay, so we're going to have to, we'll use a for each loop or something to go through that array and output it. All right, now we have to check to see if this is a working zip code. And the way that this works, this API, is if this isn't a valid zip code, so if we just put something in here and we hit enter, it gives us a status of 404. Okay, because this link here, this is not found because that's not a zip code. So what we need to do is go into this first then, and we need to test to see what the response code is. Is it 200, which is a good response, or is it something else like a 404? And then that's how we can tell if it's a working zip code. So instead of just directly mapping this to response.json, we're going to set this to a set of curly braces, and we're going to do some stuff in here. All right, so just to show you the response, the status, we can say response.status. All right, and if we go ahead and we put something crazy in here, you'll see that the status is 404. If I put a working zip code, if I put a working zip code, we get 200 as the status. So what we're going to do is a little check right here, and we're going to say if the response.status is not equal to 200. All right, so if it's not equal to 200, that means it's not a good zip code. All right, so what we'll do is we'll output an alert here that says it's no good. So we'll say document dot, let's do query selector. Okay, remember we have that output ID, that's what we're going to grab. And we're going to say dot inner HTML equals, and we're going to use a template string, so I'm going to put it, set a backticks here. Whoops. All right, so in our backticks, we're going to put the alert. Now in Bulma, this is actually called a message. So if we go to components, message, we want the red one here, which has a class of, I think it's isDanger. Where is it? Yeah, right here. So class of message isDanger. Then it has a, we don't want the header, we just want the body. So we're just going to put an alert or a message in here, and we're just going to use an article tag. All right, so we'll say article, and we'll give this a class. Let's give this a class of message. We'll put the message body in here as well, and then let's put isDanger. All right, and then in here we'll put our actual message. We'll just say invalid zip code, please try again. Okay, and then what we'll do is we'll just throw an error if this happens. So we're going to go under here and say throw error. Let's see, oops, error. And then in here, we'll put in the status text. In addition to the status, it'll actually give you the status text. So that's what we want to throw. So response.status text. Okay, and then we'll do else. Okay, so else, then we just want to basically just map the JSON just like we did before we did this check, and we can do that with just returning response.json like that. All right, so let's save that. Let's go back, and if we put in something crazy here and enter, we get our error. Now we're getting this uncaught down here because we threw the error, but we didn't catch it. So down after the second dot then, we're going to do dot catch. And in here, this takes in an error, and then we're just going to console.log the error. All right, so now we'll do that again, and it'll actually just log the error here. Okay. You know what, this text should actually be red though, so actually, you know what, I think let's not put the message body in there. We're going to put a separate div here. Oops. So div class message body, and we'll wrap that text. All right, so that should look right. Let's try that. There we go. All right, so we took care of, you know, checking to see if it's a Rails zip code or not to get and then we get the alert. But I also want that the check or the X over here. So what we're going to do is we're going to create another function under the get location info, and we're going to call this show icon. All right, so this is going to choose to show, you know, either the check or the X, and this is going to take in icon, okay, a variable called icon, and we want to clear, make sure that there's no icon displayed there first before we do anything. So we're going to say document dot query selector. Let's get the class of icon remove. Okay, and then we're going to say dot style dot display equals none. Okay, we're going to do the same thing for the, what's the other one, icon check, I believe. So we'll say icon check. All right, so this is just making sure that there's nothing here before we do anything. So once those are cleared, then we want to show the correct icon. Okay, now I'm just going to copy one of these, and we're going to say document.querySelector, and then whatever is passed in here, this will either be check or remove. So we just want to change this right here to a template string, so we want to use backticks because we're going to include a variable, and we're going to say dot icon dash and then whatever is passed in. So remember, to use a variable we use this syntax, and we're going to put in our icon variable. Now instead of setting it to none, we're going to set it to inline dash flex. All right, that's what Bulma uses to actually display their icons here. So it's going to go from none, you know, display none, to inline flex. Okay, and then we need to decide where we're actually going to show the icons and when. So when we make our request and we figure out that it's not good, it's not equal to 200, then we're going to show the icon. All right, and we want to show the remove icon, so we'll pass in remove. All right, that way it's going to display icon dash and then remove. So down here in the else, right before, where is it? Right here, right before we do the response.json, we'll call show icon, and we'll pass in check. All right, so let's go ahead and save that. Let's try it out. We'll put in something good and enter. Okay, we get our check. Let's try something that's not good, enter, and we get our X. All right. So the last thing we need to do is just display the correct info if it's a real zip code. All right, so we want to go down to where we have our data. Right now it's just console logging. So if we put a good zip code, it's just logging the data. What we're going to want to do is loop through the places array that it gives us, and then output those, okay, or output that. So let's go ahead and get rid of the console log, and we'll just say show location info, and we're going to create a variable called output, and we'll set it to nothing at first, and then we're going to loop through those places, okay, and we can get this array with data.places, okay, so let's say data.places, and then we're going to do a dot for each, and in here we're going to put in place and then set that to an arrow function. All right, and then we're just going to append to that output variable. So we'll say output plus equals, which is going to append it, and then I'm going to use a template string. So make sure you use backticks here. All right. So in here we're going to use, again, we're going to use an article. Can I use Emmet? I'm not sure if I can use Emmet in here. Let me try it. Message. Okay, I can. Good. All right, so we'll put a message. Let's make this is primary, which is going to make it, I believe, the greenish color. And then we're going to put a header. So we'll say a div with the class of message dash header. And in here we'll put a paragraph. Oops. Let's put a paragraph, and we'll say location info. And we're also going to have a little delete button so that we can get rid of it if we want. So we'll say button, and this is going to have a class of delete. Okay, and then I don't think we have to put anything in here. I think just putting the class of delete gives it the little X. So underneath the header, the message header, we'll have the body. So let's put a div with the class of message dash body. And inside here, I'm just going to put everything inside of a UL. All right, so we'll have, let's put an LI, and we'll put in some strong tags. And we'll say city, :space. And then we can access everything with this place variable. All right, so remember, to use a variable, we're going to use the syntax ES6, and we're going to say place, and then we can access with inside brackets, we're going to say place space name, which is kind of weird that they use a space. If you look here, you'll see place space name Amesbury. So we need to use the bracket syntax and then wrap it in quotes. All right, so that's the city, or the place name. I don't know why they didn't just call it city. But let's go ahead and copy this LI, and we'll paste in 3 more. So after the city, we'll have the state. So we'll change this right here to state. Then we're going to have the longitude. And let's see, this is going to be place, longitude, and then we'll do the latitude. All right, and that should do it as far as the markup here. Now what we need to do is just insert it into the output div that we have up here. Okay, we have this div with the ID of output. So what we want to do is go outside of, let's see, outside of this for each, which ends right here. And let's just say insert, we'll say insert into output div. So document dot query selector, ID output dot inner HTML is going to equal the output variable that we just created. All right, so that should do it. Let's save. Let's go ahead and put something in here, 01913, and there we go. Now, if we want this delete button right here to work, we're going to have to add that functionality. So we're going to have to add another event listener. So let's go up to the top here, and we'll say listen for delete. All right, so we're going to have to use event delegation here because the delete is inside of the for loop. Where is it? Right here. So it's inside here. So what we're going to do is we're going to listen on the body, on the document body, and then we're going to fire the event, and then we're going to check to see if the delete button was clicked. All right, so let's go ahead and add an event listener. I'm just going to copy this, and we're going to listen on the body. Okay, and we're going to listen for a click, and we're going to call a function called delete location. All right, so let's go ahead and add that function down here. Say delete location box, I guess. And I'm passing an event parameter there, and then let's just do a console.log 123. So right now, if I click anywhere in here, we're going to get the 123. So what we need to do is we need to make sure that what we click has a class of delete. So we can do a little if statement here, and we can take that event parameter, that event object. Why isn't this? There we go. So we can take that event object and we can look at the target and then the class name. Okay, so if that is equal to delete, then we know that that's we want to keep going because the delete button was clicked. So in here, what we'll do, let's just test it out first. We'll say console log 123. So now if we reload, you see it's not working. If I go and I search for a location, and then I click on, if I click anything down here, not working, I click the button, we get 123. Okay, so what we want to happen here is we just want to take the message. Okay, remember this has a class of message, and then we want to just remove it from the DOM. All right, so let's say document dot query selector message, or dot message, it's a class of message, and then we're going to do dot remove, okay, which will just completely remove it from the DOM. And then I'd also like to clear out this value, so we'll say document dot query selector, and remember that has a class of zip, that input, and then we want to say dot value, and we want to set it to nothing. All right, so if we save that, let's try it out. So 01913, and we click X, and it clears out. Now we still have this check icon here, so if you want to take care of that, then I guess we could just, let's copy this right here, and we'll change this to icon dash check, and we'll remove that as well. Let's try that. There we go. All right, awesome. So I think that's it, guys. So let me put a comment right here. Say show check or remove icon. Good. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this project. It went a little longer than I thought. But then again, we had the Bulma CSS markup and all that, removing the icons and so on. So that's going to be it, guys. Hopefully you like this. If you did, please leave a like, please subscribe, share it. Whatever you can is great. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. So I just want to give another shout out to MailTag, who sponsored this video. MailTag is a free Chrome browser extension that allows you to track your emails in real time. I've been using it myself for about a week now, and I can't recommend it enough. On top of email tracking, MailTag has a bunch of other features like desktop push notifications that alert you when your emails have been opened, link click tracking that shows if people have actually clicked on the links in your email, and a ton of other cool features. Again, all these features are completely free. Be sure to check out MailTag and click that link in the description.